Alright, good afternoon class. My name is Alfredo Tapiano, and today I'm going to discuss Kialoa. Anybody here familiar with the brand? No. Okay. Just want to touch briefly as far as the culture, canoes, paddles, Kialoa as a business, and globalization. Here we have the South Pacific Islands. Anybody from any of these areas that want to admit it? Where are you from?
Hawaii.
Hawaii, okay. I'm going to be talking about a lot of the, as far as outrigger canoeing, it originally came from Hawaii, and one of the ways that the islanders use outrigger canoe is for transportation and fishing and basically for goods and services. So how do they do all that, the traveling between the islands? Canoes. Not necessarily this the native type, but it's similar to the design. They used to take old trees and carve them up. The Hawaiians actually use koa wood or the koa tree, and they would basically carve it hollow. The difference between outrigger canoe is the ama is basically the outrigger on the side, and that's what keeps it stable. It will flip, so if you're not careful, you'll, what they call huli, is go underwater. So how does all this relate to me? I grew up in Monterey Bay. There's an army base there. They closed it. But I was involved with the Islanders Club, and it consisted of generally a lot of different cultures, Hawaiians, Guamanians, Samoans, Tahitians, you name it. Back then I used to dance hula, some of the Samoan dances, and Tahitian dances. But I definitely really enjoyed outrigger canoeing. One of my highlights there was, I think we were #1, back then I was like 16 years old, we were #1 in Northern California. And for a state championship, we actually lost by like split second as far as the state championship. So. I started up paddling again several years ago. There is a canoe club here in Federal Way called Pikaha Okekai, and I'm actually sitting in the #1 seat, and my responsibility was to keep the pace, whether it be long power strokes or quick sprint strokes. The second seat is responsible for doing the changeovers from left to right, so they keep count. 3, 4, and 5 are usually the power. #6 is the steers. And in 2008, I actually participated in the World Championship Sprints. It's kind of like the Olympics of outrigger canoe. It was held in Sacramento, and what really tied all this stuff together was there's a lot of people out from all over the world that participated here. There's people from Germany, Europe, all the islands. One of the dominating island was the Tahitians. They basically eat, sleep, and paddle, and their government basically pays them to come out here and compete. So we didn't really have a chance. Our Pacific Northwest women, I think they got 8th place, and I don't really think the men's career did too well. Here we have Dave and Meg Chun. Meg is actually from the Midwest, and they both met when he was in Oahu, Hawaii, which is the second topmost island there. And in 1990, Dave had a passion for building the best paddles in the world. And he did that. In 91, he started Kialoa. So it's actually 20 years is their anniversary. He got married to Meg, and they moved to Bend, Oregon. Anybody from Bend, Oregon, or passed by Bend, Oregon? I went to Prineville. When I used to work for Les Schwab, we had their headquarters in Prineville, and I used to go there for training, but it's basically really nothing but mountains. So I was kind of surprised that they moved there, and one of Knox's quotes, and I have to give credit for the Chung family to take their culture and bring it to Oregon. And because this is one of the things that surprised me was this is one of the demographics of Bend, Oregon. This is in March of this year. 234 Pacific Islanders, which makes up a 0% in their population. And imagine moving there in the early 90s. He's probably one of the only ones as far as brown skinned. So, and then the resources that they had there, which I'm still kind of surprised why they moved there. There wasn't really any body of water. There is probably a little river, the Chutes River. I think they based a lot of, they paddle out there quite often, but it's like 200 miles to the coast. So, and then the fact that it's in the Pacific Northwest, you don't really have cold or warm temperatures or even warm water for that matter. So, he started building paddles, as far as the wooden paddles, and I have a couple here to show around to show you guys. You guys can pass it around. This is a wood one. And then as far as new technology, here's a carbon fiber one. You can tell that the carbon fiber is actually way lighter. It's like 13 ounces. He started going into hybrid paddles, which is a combination of wood and carbon fiber. And then you have the full composite, which is full carbon fiber. And with all the new technology, the ergonomics of the paddle has changed as well as far as the curvature. So what really surprised me was I thought Kialoa was just in the Pacific Ocean as far as all the islands. After doing my research, have you guys been back, like, I don't know. So yeah, I was very surprised that there's 377 vendors with Kialoa, and they're literally all over the world. I mentioned a few: Germany, France, Finland, Canada. That's what led me to do this presentation on Kialoa. So this is their globalization. As you can tell, that they are a big player in the market. And as far as their future, they do make paddles for dragon boats. Here is a picture of one of the Tacoma crews. And one thing that is new is stand-up paddle. Stand-up paddle is they do for recreation. You can surf, as far as waves. And if you're into competition, they do have distant races. And just to summarize, I basically touched on culture, canoes, the paddles, Kialoa, and globalization. So that concludes my presentation. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
I did a couple of dragon boat races, and I never knew that the first, second, third, fourth, fifth seats have a certain job. I just get in the water.
Dragon boat's a little different. I mean, I think you're stuck on one side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. Do you guys ever rotate, like switch sides?
Yeah, we go, left and then right, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is similar to like kayaking. Kayaking, on the other hand, it just uses one paddle with dual blades. Not like they do have a newer version of kayak racing. It's more like surf ski. It's a real narrow canoe, about 20 feet long, and I think there's one lady who who has a world record last year of 121 miles in 24 hours. So they do make individual canoes, outrigger canoes. This one's an OC1. They make OC2s, which is for 2 people. And these things are made out of carbon fiber or any of those composite materials, and they're like 20 feet long. They weigh like 20 pounds. So you can tell the disadvantages or the advantage of all these lightweight materials that they're coming out with. So,
is the outrigger, the part that comes out, is the benefit of having that they can make the actual canoe smaller?
Well, it's designed for stability. So
But it doesn't impact the size of the canoe? Because why would you have it, I guess, other than stability?
Well, because when the canoes are really narrow, they'll have a tendency to flip.
Okay.
As far as like kayaks, they're usually wider, so that's why they don't have like the outrigger part of it. So Having it narrower, there's less drag in the water, so you can go faster. So that's the whole reason. There's a canoe, an OC1, OC2, and surf ski manufacturer in Sacramento. I actually met the owner, and they came out with a new design where you don't have, it's like a gull wing. So you don't have an outrigger. The gull wing is basically on the back side of the canoe, and as you, it's kind of, the concept is you won't flip over. So it's kind of like training wheels. So, and they use this, you know, they've used it on in the waters, the rough waters in Hawaii and everything. One of the big races is the Molokai race, which is from one island to the other. That usually takes like 4 or 6 hours. Yeah.
What kind of wood was used for wooden paddle?
What
kind of wood was used for wood?
What kind of wood?
Yeah.
They used various types of woods. Back in the day, they used the koa tree, which was one of the, they made the canoes and the paddles with. But now they're just getting away from that. They, of course, they stick to the hardwoods, and they're going mostly with the composite materials.
Why is carbon fiber better now?
Carbon fiber is stronger than metal and way lighter than metal. So you have a little bit of both worlds. The carbon fiber technology is, I think it's you see them on a lot of the higher end vehicles. Of course, you have airplanes, but they're starting to make just about everything out of carbon fiber. Shoes for bicycles, you name it.
Probably more strong.
Yeah, it is stronger and it's lighter, and when you have the advantage of something lighter, you don't have to use that much energy, and you'll be more efficient as far as when it comes to races or fuel economy.
Is it cheaper to produce stuff with the carbon fiber?
No. Right now the technology is very expensive. When I bought this probably a few years ago, I think it was like about $300. Bicycles, you can easily get a bicycle for $3,000 easily. As far as a full carbon fiber bike. Of course, cars, you know, the Ferraris and all them, those are all in the $250,000 and all that, just because of the carbon fiber, the lightweight savings. Yeah.
So, no, I just think this, and we can take a couple other questions. I think it's a really great presentation, and a couple of things. One is that you kind of identified two things, which is fine because you did it both in good detail. But you kind of talked about the diffusion of culture, or this sport as a culture, and then you've also shown kind of the economic map of it. So I think it's just important to show that there's kind of two places here. And when you show that globalization map, where did you get that information from? Was that just from the website? Or
it was like a corporation kind of wiki website. I did all the lines and plotted out. As far as the numbers on the vendors, I actually went to Kialoa's website, looked at their vendors. And at first I was like, how am I going to get all this on the map? So I just broke it down to each country.
No, that was excellent the way you did. Yeah. And so those are mostly vendors. Is the production just in one spot? Is the production in
Bend, Oregon is where he's based out of.
And so that's where he does all the production.
Yes. As far as the research and development, they have a river there, and I'm pretty sure he has plenty of people on the islands. Columbia River, they do a lot of research and development there. I want to say I didn't really meet them, but I want to say that I've seen them during those big events that we've had there.
So what you're also describing then is a corporation. The site is generally footloose. I mean, you don't have to be on an island. You don't have to be in the center of outrigger sports, but you just need to be somewhere near some kind of body of water. So I mean, he could have chosen he could have chosen pretty much anywhere to locate this production facility.
Yeah, I don't know why he chose Bend, Oregon, but
and it wouldn't do it with the wood in these days.
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm sorry. There's another question over here.
I was just gonna ask. So where is the koa with them?
In Hawaii, the trees.
Only in Hawaii?
No, not only in Hawaii. I didn't do a whole lot of research on koa wood, but that's what the canoes originally were made out of. And they usually weigh like 600 pounds, so they were pretty. Even the surfboards back then were all made out of koa wood.
Koa was expensive now. Like all the nice furniture and chairs and stuff, they're the expensive ones are usually all coal wood, so they're not like, it's hard to get nowadays, so they switched over to other wood.
And as far as our culture, I grew up with the culture, and it still amazes me. It's not just when you meet somebody, it's not just a handshake. It's you literally get a hug and a kiss, you know, when you say hi or goodbye. So I really appreciate the island culture.
All right, Alfredo, thank you.